Good morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. And today I kind of like to talk about our Bill of Rights, and about what the Federalists, which was the main party of the day, thought about the Bill of Rights. And there's this idea that there's a mini Bill of Rights within the Constitution. And so I've kind of gone through the Constitution. In Article 1, Section 1, it talks about elections. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people. So it tells us that we have a right to elect our own representatives. And you get a little deeper into the sections on Congress's rights, and it says to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such parts of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states, respectively, the appointment of officers and the authority of training the militia. So that's another item there where it tells us that we have some rights as far as the militia go, the rights through our states. Then we get down, the privilege of writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in the cases of rebellion or invasion because of public safety. Then it goes on, no bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. No captation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration. And as we go through the Constitution, you have little sections here or there that appear to be something like a section authorizing rights. No state without its consent of Congress lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in times of peace, enter into an agreement or compact. Now, the reason I bring this up is because of our Third Amendment, where you can't house troops. See, a lot of these things, as you dig through the Constitution, you'll find things that, well, it's kind of duplicity when you get into the Bill of Rights. The trials of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where the said crime shall have been committed. But when not committed with any state, the trial shall be in a place or places as Congress may by law direct. Then we get down in Article 3, Section 3, where it says, no person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses of the same overt act or in the confession in open court. Article 4, Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizenship in the several states. And then we get into Article 6. The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executives and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by an oath or affirmation. So they're telling us that we have the right that they be sworn in. This is what some historians refer to as a mini Bill of Rights that are already in the base Constitution. That meaning the Constitution that was argued on in 1787 and initially passed. In the last week of the convention, on September 12th, there was a move to establish a Bill of Rights. I've always conceived and believed that this is an attempt of delay by those that were opposed to the Constitution to begin with for a whole variety of reasons. This was turned down. And the Federalists were pretty much the ones in charge at the time. They're the ones that finished the Constitution The senators had left. Many others had left for a variety of different reasons, a lot of which was they didn't think that they had any business redoing the entire Constitution, because they were supposed to be submitting amendments to the Articles of Confederation, which was our first Constitution. And once you get into the ratifying convention, some of the states weren't happy because there wasn't a Bill of Rights. The Anti-Federalists were arguing that we needed a Bill of Rights for the liberty we were giving up. See, the Federalists, they didn't believe that we were giving up any liberty. They thought these rights were already in the Constitution. See, because when the states gathered, and when the delegates that were sent by the states gathered for the convention, they were giving certain rights to the federal government. It's not that the federal government had all the rights. No, on the contrary, they had no rights other than those explicitly given by the Constitution to the federal government. But the Anti-Federalists saw it in reverse. That the federal government had all rights unless we were given certain rights. So see, it's kind of, the Federalists looked at it in a different way. They looked at it that the federal government had no rights at all unless we explicitly gave it to them. So it's not that the federal government had any rights at all, but the federal government had no rights unless explicitly applied to. Now, as you go through Article 1, you'll see all kinds of things that Congress can do, from discussion on coining money, emitting bills of credit, creating a navy, creating an army temporarily. All these things, initiating a post office, the right of taxation, all these things were given to the federal government by the states through the representatives in which were sent by the states. But all else was reserved. So they believed all these rights were already in the Constitution, so there was no reason to spell out a Bill of Rights. So let's talk about the freedom of speech, press, the rights of assembly, the right of to keep and bear arms. Nothing in the Constitution said that we did not have these rights. So they believed we did have all these rights because the federal government was never given authority to deny these rights. So we had all rights. We had everything other than what we had expressly given to the federal government. Everything else, and that's what the 10th Amendment talks about, anything not explicitly here is reserved to the states and to the people. Now, this 10th Amendment is actually what the Federalists believed we already had. And that's why the Federalists were generally opposed to a Bill of Rights, because why pass something that's already there? But the Anti-Federalists saw it differently, thought that we needed an explicit Bill of Rights given, and desired. They didn't think that it was in there. And this is the crux of the whole issue, that these rights already were there. The Bill of Rights, the 12 amendments to the Bill of Rights, were already within the document because it was the right of omission of seizing it and giving it to the federal government that left it the rights of the people. And this is the way the Federalists saw it. Obviously, Madison wrote up the Bill of Rights, and he pushed it through Congress, and he attached it within. And when, in the early video, I discussed Madison's vision, he took things out and reinserted other things within those amendments that were to be inserted in. And this is why they were inserted in, because he believed they were already there. That the people already had a right not to have their home invaded and armies housed. That they already had a right of self-defense and the right to keep and bear arms. That they already had the right of free speech and press and assembly. Why? Because it had not been given to the federal government. And anything not given to the federal government was reserved to the states. And that's the way they saw it. That's the way they discussed it. And this is the important thing. And when you talk about the rights to accuse and guaranteed trial by jury, it's some of those things that are actually in the original document. There too, it expressly showing that the federal government doesn't have a right to deny basic judicial rights, which encompass the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Amendments, where your trial by jury and all this whole idea of innocence until proven guilty, they believed it was already there. And that's why they were opposed to a Bill of Rights that was just a section of rights on paper, because it already was not given to the federal government. I hope that gives you a better idea of exactly why the Federalists were opposed and what the issue was at hand. Even without the Bill of Rights, we had these rights because the federal government had not been given authority over us to deny us. Think about that for a few minutes. Let that sink in. And we'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. Please subscribe to my videos, folks. Follow me. It's the only way we get support here. Thank you for your time. We'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. Goodbye for now.